And now it's my absolute pleasure to introduce the president of the society, Joseph Keseciolgu. Nice to see you. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Great to see you. And also we have the ESICM president-elect, Maurizio Cecconi. Good afternoon to you as well.
Good afternoon.
Are you good?
I'm very excited to be here.
Great. Joseph, first of all, over to you for some opening words, I think.
Well, I can start saying that obviously we have a very special and a difficult year behind without knowing how far we will go with it under the circumstances that we had with COVID-19. The hope and the wish was to see all our members face to face in a congress in Madrid. But let's be optimistic, because digital congress has also its charms and advantages, which we will be experiencing in the coming years. However, I would like to mention the huge impact of the COVID-19 pandemics on our society. I mean, not only with our patients, which we tried our best to save their lives when we were confronted with huge number of them needing us, but also the nurses, physicians and other healthcare professionals were really having a big challenge. And the challenge we can explain in many different ways, but I would like to summarize in a way that they had their responsibility to take care of their patients, but they also had the responsibility to take care of their families and loved ones. And there was a big challenge in finding the balance between them. Also, we were faced with a lot of shortages, which actually caused us to change our norms, the norms that we are educated with, the norms which we are living for, and we actually were confronted with the situation that we were not able to exercise where we are trained for, and that made a lot of damage in the mental well-being of our colleagues. Well, having said that, I would also like to give a special tribute to our colleagues who got very, very ill during this period, and also even some colleagues who lost their lives after caring for their patients.
Thank you, Joseph. These were very uncertain times, Maurizio.
Yeah, they were, especially at the beginning. And you know, we were all committed to give the best to our patients, but this was a new virus. We didn't know it was very easy to transmit, to get infected. So we were all scared at the beginning, and we wanted to protect also our families. So many of us separated from our families at the beginning. The good thing, though, is that through the challenges of COVID-19, we also learned that with proper training and proper personal protective equipment, we know that intensive care units have actually been a very safe environment, and we can protect our healthcare workers. So now we feel more confident in carry on with this challenge.
Let's talk a little bit more about this digital format today. Joseph.
Well, it's something new for our society, but it has also been new to many other societies as well, as we had to change all our understanding of organizing a digital congress. But also it provided us some advantages, as I said, and we also feel that we will be reaching to more people worldwide due to the nature of this congress. That's why I would like actually to acknowledge all my colleagues who have been giving a lot to have this prepared, and also from our executive committee colleagues who took the responsibility to reach to this day and who were extremely helpful and proactive in taking care of the whole situation.
Of course. So 2020 was indeed a very, very complicated year for everybody, all of you watching us around the world, a situation like no other. Tell us how you led the society.
Well, actually, first of all, we have stuck to our own values. that is also embedded in our names. It is the linking innovation, vision, excellence, and science. The only important thing we had to do was to readjust our way of thinking, to have a change of mindset. And still doing that, we still focused on our values, as I said. And if I have to summarize it very shortly, instead of complaining about the wind, we have readjusted our sails to this difficult wind of 2020.
Nobody wanted a pandemic. We had to deal with it.
No, nobody wanted a pandemic, but we just had to accept it. And I agree with Joseph. I think what kept us on track was the fact that we had strong values in the society, in our community, and we had to use this to react as a leadership in this crisis. You know, in a crisis, you cannot just act normally. You have to understand that there is a lot of uncertainty. You have to look at the data that you had out there, and you need to take this data and take some quick actions and communicate this uncertainty and have some clear common goals. And I'm not talking just about us for the leadership of the society. I'm talking about the leadership that the community has shown in hospitals, in healthcare systems around the world. There was a common goal in this pandemic from our community, which was to give an ICU bed to whoever would benefit from an ICU bed, COVID and non-COVID.
I think you should actually say that the real nature of the people, you see it in a crisis. And with that, I can emphasize that the intensive care community has passed this test so far.
Okay. So this was the starting point, but how did you actually respond to the crisis? I mean, what did you put in place?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's not a secret that no one had any perception at the beginning of it, last January or February, that this could be such a violent and overwhelming situation. I mean, I can remember our jokes about which Congress we would still be attending somewhere at the middle of the year, or we were in a denial phase whether it would be possible to have face-to-face congresses. I mean, at a certain moment, the recognition comes, and that is very heavy. But once we recognized it, we took immediate action, and then we had to choose the actions, what to do first. And actually, we have chosen to educate people on this, because there were so many unknown things with COVID-19. There are still a lot of unknown things, but if I compare now the situation at the beginning of the year, I mean, we did not know anything. That's why we have thought, educate, educate, and educate, but with the right knowledge, because we have seen a lot of beliefs at the beginning of the year using this medication and that medication did not have any effect. What we tried was to really choose the right knowledge to send to the people right from the beginning.
And there was a time where maybe you feel a bit vulnerable, I guess, as well.
Well, especially at the beginning, you know, we realized very, very early that we were not prepared. You know, when the crisis started in Europe, it was the end of February, and just a few days before, we were together with colleagues from all around the world in America, looking at what was happening in China, and I know that there was no awareness of something like this happening so fast, you know, in our units, in our countries outside of China. I really think that's what we probably recognized as a society. I was in the epicenter in Milan, in Lombardy. I was speaking very often with Joseph and saying, this is difficult. You know, what we are seeing is fast. It can overwhelm any system if the spread of the virus is not contained. We need to get people this warning. So we need to tell people to get ready, because a few hours, a few days to get ready can make a difference.
And how did you do that?
Well, I mean, how did you do that? Well, I have talked with Mauricio a lot and got a lot of tips.
Yeah.
But just mentioning about our reaction, how fast we were, if I remember correctly, the first patient was admitted in Lombardy region on the 20th of February. Our webinar was exactly 6 days later. So this shows, I mean, I mentioned we had a lot of surprise, but once we were at it, we acted very, very fast.
Can you tell us about this webinar? How did it go? It must have been a...
Well, we have been, we were very naive actually at that time because, I mean, our society has also certain facilities, and we thought we organized the webinar with our own facilities. I think within a few minutes after the start of the webinar, we started to receive messages after each other that the system was almost crashed because there were, in the first webinar, which was 1 hour, there were 2,000 people trying to get in, and our system was absolutely not ready because we were thinking maybe 100 people, 200 maximum, and then once we saw that, that was a lesson, and after that we had completely reorganized our webinars and the way how to do these things.
But it was a learning also because, you know, that was with China, with an expert from China, was Bindu.
Bindu, yeah.
And he was very kind to share information and knowledge from the very beginning. You know, in Europe, the crisis started, we needed information. We were craving for information. So we've asked him to help us. And so, you know, he gave this presentation, but at some point the presentation broke a bit. So we were talking on the slides and trying to get all the information that he gave to us, to our members. It was a bit of a stressful experience.
Yeah, it was stressful, but then of course we didn't stop there. We have performed the marathon webinars and also with regular webinars, and these were going perfectly due to the measures we have taken. We had also webinars on Alive for the low and middle income countries.
What's Alive? Can you tell us about it?
Alive is a fund of the society. This fund we use for the training of the physicians and nurses in low and middle income countries. For example, we have been recently, when the traveling was still possible, given courses in Uganda, Pakistan, in Barbados for sepsis and septic shock in order to improve the knowledge in these countries, especially the basic knowledge that they can use for their daily patient care.
Okay, so you put, from what I can gather, a lot of actions in place. How were they received? I mean, I read that you had 145,000 people for the marathon in more than 100 countries, which is quite impressive, and more than 600,000 views on a webinar that you on the webinars regrouped, organized. I mean, they're quite impressive figures.
Yes, I think we were also even impressed when we saw these figures, but it also shows a little bit what I said a moment ago, the lack of knowledge and the hunger to have information of people, intensivists or physicians or nurses from other specialisms. And we had also quite a good collaboration with our sister societies. There has been relations built on trust for many years with other organizations that we have contact with. And of course, it should also be mentioned that this trust is not built up in 1 year. This is something with a potential of many, many years, the great work of our predecessors, and that's why we are thankful for them.
And it was important to have this trust because we've, you know, there was so much information at the beginning and people didn't know what to trust.
Yeah.
And as a scientific society, we felt that we had the duty to filter this information and to pass this information. So, you know, we were overwhelmed by the number of emails and messages at the beginning of saying, please carry on with the webinars, we need more of this. And I think we really accepted that appeal and tried to pass as much information as we could.
What I hear is that you had a solid pre-COVID network beforehand. What makes ESICM so special, particular, Joseph?
Well, what makes a society, the members really make the society, and the connection of the members with each other make the society. And I can proudly say that we are a European society, but we have members from 120 different countries on each continent. We have nurses, we have intensivists from all different backgrounds. We have other healthcare professionals in our society. After saying that, I would like also to focus on the nurses because 2020 is a special year for the nurses, and I would like to give a few special word of thanks to all the nurses and allied healthcare professionals who have played such an essential role during the pandemic. And our society also at this moment offers education and learning than ever before to the nurses with workshops and master classes.
Okay.
And I would like to say, to address them with the words that we value your inclusion and the closer integration we have developed with you. Thank you.
Great. So all these networks, intensivists, how do you build on this community and how do you bring in the young people? Joseph.
Well, we have the next. Next is a group, a very important group with quite a number of members who represent the younger generation, the younger members of the society.
Next, they're called?
Next, they are called indeed, like
next generation.
And I would like. I'm also very happy to mention that the next group have already proved and showed great leadership during the pandemic, and they are all heavily involved in all of our actions, webinars, and educational programs, and they continue to drive innovation and creativity to the society.
Mm-hmm. Maurizio, how do you see the next generation in the future of the society?
Well, they are incredibly important. You know, they are important for the present. You know, they've been the glue sticking together the network of intensive care units in Europe. We had fellowship programs. They were traveling all the time. Now, unfortunately, with COVID, we had to stop that. But because they are young and they know how to use technology, they use digital tools to stay connected. I really think the society stay connected also thanks to their leadership. So I'm confident that we will see leadership in the society thanks to the generation of next that we see now.
As the main European society representing intensivists, I know you have a very strong relationship with the European Union. What was the trigger, Joseph?
Actually, we started way before the COVID-19 was hitting us. We had actually seen all these years that the training of intensive care in Europe is not homogeneous, which means that people have different way to become intensivists, and due to this inhomogeneity, free movement of intensivists are not easy. Mm-hmm. It's different than other specialities. That's why we have been applying to European Union, also before the crisis, but also during, for a more homogeneous training which will enable the free movement of the intensivists. That's why we also have asked them to be included in the Annex 5, which is the framework for the recognition of specialists in European Union state, and it is really the base for the free movement of medical professionals in Europe. Mm-hmm. This is how it was starting, but during our contact, we also offered them our services so that we could help them to prepare for the second wave in Europe. And this has led to the program C19 Space. Okay,
so C19 Space, Maurizio, can you tell us about it?
Yes, so C19 Space is the COVID-19 skill preparation course, but before talking about C19 Space, it's the point of saying what we've learned in this pandemic about ICU. First of all, that an ICU ventilator does not make an ICU bed. ICU beds are ICU people, are the healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, other healthcare workers that are looking after patients and their families. You cannot train specialists in a few days or in a few months. It's just not possible. But if you have a surge of ICU cases, you need to increase ICU beds. And for that, we got help from many doctors, nurses, and other professionals that do not work regularly in intensive care. So we tried to pass this message to the European Commission, say you need to work on getting stock of drugs and devices and technologies, but let's not forget about people. Of course, the most important thing to fight a surge of ICU patients is actually to avoid one. So controlling the spread of the disease in the community is really what we advocate, even as an ICU community. So individual citizens can really help us a lot. The individual responsibility of face masks, hand washing, social distancing, it really is the attack that allows us to win against this challenge. ICUs, we like to say that they are the last line of defense, but if it happens, we need to train people. So C19 Space is a program which aims to give basic skills in intensive care to healthcare workers that do not work regularly in intensive care. And we were very happy that the European Commission decided to fund this program and to ask ESIC to prepare it and to deliver it.
Let's take a look at a film which will tell us a lot more about this program.
You are now in the corridor.
Your suggestion?
The CAM ICU squad with the facial mask is
The system that we use.
and to really be immersed.
So this must have been a major challenge, putting this all together. We've got the mask here with us on the set, which is quite impressive. Tell us a little bit more about how you put it all together.
It has been a major challenge.
Yeah.
So when they told us to do the program, we thought we had to do it in a very short period of time. So we got 70 experts across all of Europe, everyone in his own free time, putting together all the content. We have 24 hours of training between online, face-to-face, and virtual reality. It has been, an enormous effort, but it was great to see, how the community got together. And what you're seeing here, it's a virtual reality kit. So with your smartphone, you can basically be immersed in an intensive care. And the filming occurred in Milan. In my hospital, we built an intensive care unit for COVID in the summer. When we didn't have to use it, we got 20 experts, doctors, nurses from the society. Joseph and I, we were there. The funny thing, actually, Joseph and I, we met last time in Milan, just before the pandemic, and the first time we met after the first wave was again in Milan.
Yeah. Well, great experience anyway, putting it all together, I'm sure, and lots of people working for free, obviously, to put it together. I believe there's a goal of 10,000 people to be trained before the end of 2020. This must be the largest training program ever maybe put together in the healthcare domain, is that correct?
Well, as far as we know, it is the one of the largest educational program, and that makes us very proud, of course, to have done this with huge collaboration and a great teamwork. If I would like to elaborate a little bit on this, I would like to emphasize that this COVID-19 pandemic is an unprecedented disaster. I call it unprecedented not because we have not had disasters in the past, but this is something coming in big numbers, but we don't know when it is going to end. Normally with the disasters, things have happened, you have casualties, and you know that after a few weeks everything will stabilize. With this we have no slightest idea. Yet we have made the statement that we were unprepared the first time. That's certainly how it was. and we cannot be unprepared twice. That was our statement that we made months ago. Actually, with this project, we have actually shown that we have taken a very concrete action for the sake of preparedness.
Yeah.
I think this is that's why a very important issue.
Very
And
important.
focusing on people, not just technology.
Yeah.
Of course. We've spoken about the pandemic, of course, and the training program, but I guess activities continued as usual as you were going through this difficult phase.
Of course. Actually, we did not put things on hold. We just maintained them. We changed a lot of the things according to the necessities,
Yes.
and we have updated them because it needed a new sort of tackling the problem. Like the Congress, I mean, we are here now to open our digital Congress. We have completely different formats. The European Society of Intensive Care Medicine Academy is going on. Our EDIC exam, the master classes, they are all just continuing. We also assured that the research grants are unchanged, and this year we have allocated 225,000 euros like other years. Our communication, our social media has been very active, and of course our journal, the life is going on as usual, even though in a maybe more active way. And with that, I would like to say that we are extremely proud of our official journal, Intensive Care Medicine. It is most highly ranked journal in the category that it is devoted for, with an impact factor of 17.6, etc. And then this figure speaks for itself. And then this all thanks to the editor-in-chief, Giuseppe Citerio, and his team of editors for their contribution. I would also like to mention that our second journal, Intensive Care Medicine Experimental, has a new editor-in-chief now, and I would like to use this opportunity to welcome Nicole Ufermans and her editorial team. And we are really looking forward to see the journal growing under her leadership. I think to conclude, I think I would like to thank to all our educators, our faculty, our examiners for making this happen and maintaining our usual activities, and next to the ones that are COVID-19 related, of course, and helping us to continue to offer learning and development.
So it seems that you've been very, very busy. Let's talk about research now. In addition to the training as a major European society representing intensives, you've launched and supported lots of different research initiatives. Tell us about them.
Well, we have asked for a lot of grants as a society. We have endorsed quite a number of studies, also COVID-19 related important studies. We have endorsed them. And we have also designed studies coming right from the core of the society, one of them being the Unite COVID-19, where 4,500 cases have been included so far. And we also had an European Society of Intensive Care Medicine survey, which we have analyzed the prevalence of mental health problems in intensivists facing the COVID-19 outbreak. And these have delivered very important results. And I think these will be a very important contribution to the literature.
Maurizio, I'm turning to you now. I believe that data can be very, very valuable for care and research.
Right. Data is everything for us in medicine, in research, as a scientific society. We were investing a lot in this before COVID, even if during this crisis you've seen how much data is important. So in the previous years we worked to establish data science as one of the key actions in our societies. We also have a new section which we established last year. And we started to work more and more to get people familiar with data. So data science is everything. It's about clinical data, the information that you get from the electronic medical records, from benchmarking in intensive care, going to more advanced techniques like machine learning and artificial intelligence that are coming to fruition. So we think it's important that we drive this data science revolution. And we started to organize meetings, for instance, in the previous 2 years, which we call datathons, where we bring people together to become familiar about this.
Okay, so how does a datathon work?
Well, you have to imagine a datathon as a friendly competition, sometimes not so friendly, but no, they like to compete. They are teams put together with clinicians, engineers, data scientists. We actually realized that we have a larger community that want to come and work with us in ESIC, which is indeed not just clinicians, but these engineers, these data scientists. And it's great to see how, coming from different backgrounds, you can put together something very effective as a team to try to answer a research question on a large database.
Maurizio, in a few days you're going to be leading the ESICM, and I know you've worked very, very closely with Joseph hand in hand, but could you give us maybe your vision for the months and years to come, and tell us how you intend to continue to spread education and research all across the world?
Yes, but first of all, I would like to thank Joseph, because I really think that Joseph had the challenge to lead the society in what I think has been the most challenging year for the society since its birth. And it's been a real honor for me to work with him as a president-elect. The best thing you can hope as a president-elect is to have a president that is supporting your ideas and you start to work on your program before you're president. I was lucky really to have Joseph doing that. And I've learned a lot from him. You know, he was able in this challenging time to, you know, to look at the uncertainty out there, to analyze the situation and to take very fast actions. And I really think we have a strong society and we survived this year and we thrived in this year really because of the leadership of Joseph. I want to carry on, and I think I'm inheriting a very strong society. In this unprecedented crisis, I really think the society has never been as strong as it is now, and it's thanks to the members of the society. So, you know, we have a crisis. We have to try to come out of this crisis. We don't know for how long this crisis is going to last. We will stick to our values. That's very important for us. I know that the members will help us on this, but we also have to think ahead in the future for when the crisis will finish. So I'm working now already with the leadership of the society and listening to members to build a 5-year strategy to give a roadmap for the future for our society.
And if you had to summarize maybe in just one phrase how you see the society in the years to come, could you do that?
Well, my vision is for ESIC to be a worldwide society that fosters clinical excellence, research and education, and gives equal opportunities based on merit to everyone working in intensive care.
And do you think the society can do this despite the COVID challenge?
I think we've already started to see this transition. I think the society is already going in that direction. We've done a lot of things together in this year. I really think we're moving there. If you see even the membership, we are a European society, but you know, almost 30% of our members now come from outside Europe. We are a diverse society. You know, we are a multidisciplinary society. We are working more and more to give voices to the different parts of the society, and I think we have to carry on in that way, giving more voices to nurses, allied healthcare professionals, maybe members that are outside from Europe as well. But coming to diversity, I think it's very important. It's one of the key values that I had in my campaign as a president-elect. I put excellence, diversity, and innovation, and you can recognize that these are the values of ESIC. I think we realized a few years ago that we had a problem with diversity.
Right.
You know, we didn't have enough young people, enough female leadership in our society. We moved a long way from that. If you see now the Congress and the Congress Committee and Armand Gibbs have done a great job on that. We moved over the last years from 15% of female speakers, which was clearly not enough, to I think now we will have something like 40%. I want to see this change also in the leadership of the society. I want to see young people and female especially thriving. We have to find ways to mentor them, to promote their nomination, to step up and get elected into officers' position as well.
You talked a little bit about a world society. What does that actually mean?
It means that I think we are a European core. We have a European core. But now the world is looking at us. We've shown that we can lead the ICM community worldwide. I think we've proven that this year. I'm very proud of it. I think we can carry on doing it. And I would like to conclude with a message of hope. Look what we've done in such a challenging year.
Yes.
It could be more challenging. I know we will be ready. But I also know that if we're being able to navigate in this storm and strong winds, we can do it even better with calm water.
Great. Need to be a good sailor.